Hey everyone, what's up? Only Sneaky here, and today I'm doing a video response to HappyConsoleGamer, and this is on Metroid, classic Metroid memories. I really loved your video, man, and I definitely have some memories with my favorite series of all time. So, I guess I should start out with, how did I start with Metroid? Well, quite simply, it started with Super Smash Brothers. I'm only 18 right now, so I wasn't around, when the original came out. I was around when Super came out, but not that I can enjoy it or anything. So yeah, my first Metroid experience was actually in Super Smash Brothers, and back then, I don't know, I just didn't know who Samus was, but that was my main character. It was a robot, and I thought it was a he, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play as a cybernetic robot, And also, the other reason why I made Samus in the original Smash Brothers for a while is because back then I had no idea that, he used A moves to KO people. Now, in Smash Brothers, people were probably like, what? But, yeah, I'd use the charge beam all the time to finish people off because I had no idea that you could do side A and that would send them flying as well, so I just always charge beam. So anyway, Samus and I started, I had a pretty good relationship with that character, so I'm like, okay, I want to play the game Samus stars in. So I found out that Samus's flagship series is Metroid, and I set off to find one. So that led me to the Metroid database, which is a pretty cool website, which has every Metroid title, and I've been visiting there since all they had were the original 3 games in Smash Bros. And that's where I found out that Samus was a girl, and I just remember that memory too. I'm like, Samus is a girl, and I actually got all sexist, and literally, I went back to play Smash Brothers, and I'm like, you know what, I got a main Link now. I have the main Link. I can no longer main Samus because she's a girl. Like, I said this, I was like, 6 or whatever. But yeah, so I tried the main Link, but in the end, I went back to Samus because she kicked ass, and I accepted she was a girl, and anyways, I went off to get Metroid games. So, the other, somehow, and I'm not even sure how this happened, but I was under the extreme persuasion that the original Metroid was on the original Game Boy. I don't know how that happened. So I really wanted to start from the start of the series, because who doesn't want to do that when you're doing something like this? So what I did is I went on eBay and I typed in original Metroid Game Boy, and a lot of them were Metroid 2, but one listing popped up that said original Metroid Nintendo Game Boy. So I'm like, okay, it didn't have a picture either, so I just assumed that it was the original one. So I went ahead and bought it, and waited around a few weeks, and when I got it, it was Metroid 2, which my older brother actually already had. However, I didn't play much of it, so I was a bit bummed that it wasn't the original, but I still started with it, and I actually sucked at it. And I thought that would be the end of my love for the series. This was in the Game Boy Advance. I'm trying to think if that was out by then. The Game Boy Color is definitely out because that's what I played it on. But the colors weren't good in the early 2000s, and the screen was extremely cropped. It was really hard to see anything, and it was hard and confusing. And I'm just like, this is the game I wanted to play. But I did not give up, and I remember, I'd say a few months after that, I went to the flea market with my family, and we were walking by, I was rolling by, and I saw Super Metroid in a case, and I'm like, there's a Super Nintendo version of this? And I got really excited because, I don't know, somehow I knew this game was destined to be one of my favorite games ever. So I really, really wanted it that day, but my parents were like, it was like $25. Even back then, I remember it being a fairly expensive game, and my parents, and I guess rightfully so, they're like, you shouldn't really drop $25 on a game that old, which nowadays I'm like, for the best game of all time, totally worth it. But back then, I can see that. So my dad actually went on eBay without my knowing and bought Super Metroid for $20. Ooh, saving $5 later on. And I was just so excited when he told me he ordered that, and I couldn't wait to get Super Metroid in the mail. So I waited a week, and I remember the night I got Super Metroid, because we got it in the mail, right? I opened up the package, Super Metroid was right there, and I had to go to the circus. Not to be in the circus, that kind of sounds awkward. Not to be in the circus, but go see the circus. And I'm like, no, I do not want to see this stupid circus. I just want to go downstairs, play Super Metroid. I'm like, you know what? You can leave me here. I'll just play Super Metroid. I'll be fine. But I had to tag along to the circus, and that wasn't a fun time. The whole time I'm like, why am I not playing Super Metroid right now? But the next day I got up really early, and then I played Super Metroid, and I probably played it all day. I never got far in it. I mean, that first day, because well, it's hard for a kid. Like, I got the beginning down and all that. I actually died a couple times in the beginning, believe it or not. But the game's rather confusing for, I think I was like 6 or 7 when everything I'm talking about took place. So it's not like, I could really figure out what to do. Plus, I was in the, well, I take that back. It was kind of hard to navigate modern games back then, not hard at all now. But yeah, so I kind of got lost in it, but I kept on playing, and eventually, and I totally forget where I got stuck for like good. It was somewhere like No Fair, but I just got eternally stuck, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a little break from this game. Took a break. A week later, fired up, save file's gone. The cartridge I had a bad battery in it, obviously, and the battery backup died, and I didn't know how to fix it back then. I thought my cartridge was screwed, and I didn't really think to Google it either, so I'm like, well, great, I got a dead cartridge, and I didn't really want to play it again, because back then, I kind of had a traumatizing experience losing my Pokemon Silver game data, so I'm like, without a proper battery, I don't want to, risk playing a lot of it and then turning it off and not having my data. And I didn't really know that it was a semi-short game either. I was figuring it would be like a 20-hour game, so I didn't really want to, lose all that data. So I put it down for quite a few years. Before I go back to Super Metroid, though, we also got Metroid Prime. I got Metroid Fusion. Probably the year after that, I'd say. And we also got the little link cable thing. And with that, I got the original Metroid. And that also kind of disappointed me too, because of the really hard difficulty. That's definitely a hard game. And it took me quite a few years to beat. I actually beat the Zero Mission version of it a few years later. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed with it just because of how hard it was. I'm sure it was mind-blowing back in the day, but in the early 2000s, it just wasn't easy. And I don't know, I kind of liked easy back then. I like challenges now though, and I really grew to love the original Metroid. And I beat it a couple times. Never got Swimsuit Samus, but I beat it a couple times, and that was just a really fun game. Fusion I really liked because I actually beat that one fairly quickly because of the linearity of it, and Metroid Prime I got lost in like the first hour or so. There you go with that. But back to Super Metroid, because that's what I really want to talk about, because that's my favorite game in the series. So Super Metroid I didn't pick up until, I want to say 2007. I think it was July of 2007. This is, years later, because I found out it was heading to the Wii Virtual Console. And I actually got really excited because they did a Metroid month on the Wii shop, and this is like one of the few things. I think the Wii shop actually did well. I'm staring at my Wii, by the way, looking at it with a weird glare. And anyways, they did like a Metroid month where they had this Metroid Prime preview channel thing, which, I don't know, had some trailers, some stupid puzzle. They released that, then they released the original Metroid, which I didn't want since I had it on Zero Mission and Prime, so I'm like, why get a third version? And a week after the original Metroid, they released Super Metroid, and I actually bought a Wii card in anticipation, even though I had a card that could easily be repaired. I still don't know then. I still went out, got a Wii point card, downloaded Super Metroid, and I think I got it that day, almost as soon as I came home from school. I just rushed to my Wii, downloaded Super Metroid, and for the next 2 weeks, that's all I did. That's all my Wii was good for. I just played Super Metroid. Anytime I'd get stuck at all, I'd look up an FAQ on GameFAQs and go through it like that. I didn't have to do that too much though, to my shock. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really like that. No other game gave me the same sense of great progression. No other game gave me the sense of extreme exploration. I just loved everything about Super Metroid, and it just, right there, those 2 weeks playing it on my Wii, that became not only my favorite Wii game, and I don't really care if that's accurate or not, it's just true, but also one of the best games I've ever played. And the thing I did with my Wii version, and I still blame this for overheating my Wii and making me send it in for repair, but I sent it in, with Super Metroid, I found out on the internet as well that you could get tons of energy tanks by doing this glitch that like reset your save data, but you kept all your items except your missiles. So I did that a lot, and I like energy tanks coming off of the main menu screen. They were just everywhere, like it was just energy tanks. And I knew it was harmful to a real cartridge, which is why I did it on the emulated version, because if it screwed up, I figured I could delete it. But then my Wii fried, well, a few months after I did that. But that was traumatizing. But, Super Metroid, the whole series just is really one of my favorite series of all time. I'm not a big fan of the Prime series. I just like the 2D perspective for the gameplay better. I mean, I love the Prime series, but it doesn't hold the candle to the original series to me. And I really, really wish they'd make a new 2D game, because it's been far too long. And Super Metroid definitely remains to be one of my favorite games of all time. So this video is running a little long, but hope you all enjoyed this. So this is Only Me Pete saying, look, Mom, no hands. Thanks for listening in, guys. Later.